"That house belongs to me now," my brother said loudly inside the courtroom. He smirked and added, "She never contributed a single dollar." I stayed quiet. Then the judge lifted a thick document and said, "Before we continue, this report changes everything. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I'm 37 years old. I work as a property inspector for a small city housing department, spending long days evaluating buildings, checking foundations, reviewing structural issues, and writing official reports that determine whether homes are safe to live in. I've always been the quiet sibling who handled responsibilities while others took credit, the one who showed up when things needed to be done but never got recognized for it. My brother was the favorite, the one the family trusted with decisions even when he avoided real work, even when he disappeared for months at a time. I helped my late mother maintain the old family house for years, fixing repairs when the roof leaked, paying some bills quietly when she couldn't afford them, managing paperwork when her health started failing and she couldn't keep track of everything. After my mother passed away, I assumed the house would simply stay in the family, that we'd figure things out together like reasonable people. Instead, my brother suddenly claimed the entire property legally belonged to him, that he was the rightful owner, and I had no claim at all. Relatives believed him quickly, repeating his version of events without asking me a single question. I didn't argue publicly or fight emotionally. I kept calm and continued gathering documents, organizing files, preparing quietly. I wasn't rich or glamorous, but I had something they didn't expect. If you've ever been treated like your hard work didn't matter, you probably understand this feeling. Subscribe if you've been underestimated by family. My mother passed away after a long illness, leaving behind the old family home she'd lived in for over 30 years. I expected a simple legal process, maybe some paperwork to sort through, maybe some discussions about what to do next. Instead, my brother immediately filed paperwork claiming sole ownership, documents that said the house was his and his alone. At the first family meeting, he said confidently, his arms crossed, "Mom trusted me with the house. You were never involved." Relatives nodded along and repeated his words, treating it like a settled fact. I tried to explain I'd handled repairs and documents for years, that I'd been the one coordinating everything. My brother interrupted loudly. "You visited sometimes, that's it." Weeks later, I received court papers stating I had no claim, that my involvement was minimal and irrelevant. My brother publicly told relatives I only showed up for property money, that I was being greedy and opportunistic. At a small gathering, an aunt whispered to me, her voice sympathetic but dismissive, "Maybe you should just let him have it. It's not worth the fight." I refused to argue emotionally, refused to make a scene or defend myself loudly. The dispute moved to formal court mediation, a hearing scheduled to settle everything legally. In the courtroom, my brother confidently stated, looking directly at the judge, she never contributed a single dollar to this house. People in the room glanced at me like I'd already lost, like this was over before it started. Then the judge paused and asked if there were any official property records. I quietly raised a folder. The room shifted. My brother had secretly been meeting with lawyers without informing me, filing documents that described me as uninvolved in property maintenance, as someone who'd barely visited. At a family dinner weeks earlier, he'd said loudly in front of everyone, "She barely visited Mom during the last years. I was the one who was there." Several relatives believed him, nodding along, treating me differently afterward. Then I received papers in the mail asking me to sign away any claim, documents that falsely stated I'd already agreed verbally to give up everything. Instead of reacting emotionally, instead of yelling or crying or confronting him publicly, I began reviewing years of records I'd kept from my work with the house. I pulled up repair receipts from contractors, inspection notes I'd written professionally, email conversations where I'd coordinated work and approved estimates. I organized everything carefully on my laptop, creating folders by year, by type of repair, by contractor. Patterns began to appear that contradicted my brother's claims completely. Evidence that showed exactly who'd been maintaining the house and who hadn't. What they didn't know was that my job gave me professional expertise in property inspection and documentation, skills I'd been using for years without anyone noticing. I'd quietly written detailed maintenance reports about my mother's house, treating it with the same care I gave to official city inspections. I kept copies of structural inspection notes, contractor communications where I'd requested quotes and approved work, repair invoices I'd coordinated and sometimes paid for myself. Each document had dates, signatures, and official formatting, the kind of records that hold up under scrutiny. While organizing everything, I realized something important. The records formed a complete property history, a timeline that showed exactly who'd been responsible for keeping the house standing. I compiled them into a formal 9-page property condition report, organized by date and type of maintenance, cross-referenced with city inspection standards. It showed clearly who maintained the house and who authorized repairs over the years. My brother's name appeared almost nowhere in any of the documentation. I kept the report hidden, didn't tell anyone about it, didn't mention it in conversations. I waited for the moment when the truth would matter most. I had a plan they never saw coming. I contacted Mr. Patel, a senior inspector who'd mentored me early in my career, someone I trusted and respected. He reviewed my documents carefully over coffee one afternoon, reading through pages, checking dates, verifying signatures. His reaction was immediate. These records are solid. Courts respect this kind of documentation. He helped me format the report into official property documentation, adding professional language and structural references that would carry weight in a legal setting. Meanwhile, my brother grew more confident, telling relatives the case was already decided, that the judge would rule in his favor quickly. He started talking about selling the house, discussing future renovations and profit, making plans like everything was settled. Family members began discussing what should be done with the property, where the money should go, how much they might get. I stayed quiet through all of it, didn't correct them, didn't argue. The court hearing date approached. My brother believed I had no evidence, no case, nothing to present. The tension built as both of us prepared for the courtroom confrontation. The courtroom was quiet and formal, with wooden benches and fluorescent lights that made everything feel cold. My brother spoke first, with confidence, standing tall, his voice steady. She didn't maintain the house. I handled everything. His lawyer presented simple ownership claims, documents that showed my brother as the executor of the estate, papers that looked official but were surface level. Then I calmly stood and handed the judge a thick document, the report I'd spent weeks preparing. Your Honor, this is a full property maintenance report. The judge flipped through the pages slowly, his expression focused, reading carefully. The room grew quiet as everyone waited. The report showed years of inspection notes, signed contractor records with my name on every approval form, structural repair documentation that proved I'd coordinated major work. Every document listed me as the responsible contact, the person contractors called, the person who authorized payments. The judge read aloud, his voice cutting through the silence. These records indicate consistent maintenance coordination by Ms. Mitchell. My brother interrupted angrily, his confidence cracking. That doesn't prove ownership. The judge responded calmly, not looking up from the papers. It proves involvement and responsibility. The report also included official city inspection references tied to my professional work, documentation that carried legal weight. The judge looked directly at my brother. Your claim that she contributed nothing appears incorrect. The courtroom fell silent. Relatives in the back exchanged shocked looks. I remained calm while the truth unfolded, while the documents spoke for themselves. The same people who doubted me now watched the papers carefully, reading over shoulders, whispering. The judge ordered further review of my brother's claim. The court paused the property transfer, freezing everything until a full investigation could be completed. The investigation confirmed I'd handled most of the house maintenance, that my brother's involvement had been minimal at best. His credibility collapsed as more evidence came to light, as contractors confirmed they'd worked with me, not him. Some relatives attempted quiet apologies later, sending messages, making awkward phone calls. I chose distance rather than revenge, keeping my boundaries clear. I focused on protecting the house and honoring my mother's memory, making sure the place she loved was cared for properly. The experience changed my perspective completely. I stopped trying to prove my worth to family members who never listened, who never saw me no matter how much I did. They thought silence meant weakness, but sometimes silence is just patience waiting for the truth. Have you ever had someone try to erase your hard work or take credit for what you built? Share your experience in the comments. Subscribe and join the community of people who stand up for themselves. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else. Thank you for being here and for listening.